Here, let's go down to the feature match area right now for round 4 here at GP Copenhagen. Hello, my friends. Welcome to live coverage of round 5 here at GP Copenhagen. A couple of spicy ones in the feature match area for your viewing pleasure this round, my friends. We're going to kick things off with Georg Arndt and Martin Müller. You will have heard of Müller, of course, the golden boy of Magic in Europe, but his opponent, Georg Arndt, is playing blue-white Anointed Procession, Simon.
Yeah, we are really seeing some spicy deck lists here early on day 1. We'll have to see how many of them manage to reach day 2, but Georg Arndt is up to a good start.
So Arndt here. Looks like he's going to get involved and make some servos. Of course, this card, I mean, it's fine on turn 2, right? Just making 2 1/1s, but with Anointed Procession, making 4 of them. Ooh. Ooh. And it's very good against Glensleeve Siphoner as well. Going to hold back that 2-1 from attacking. I mean, the Siphoner does have Menace, so it's going to require both creatures blocking it, but it's nice to not let that Siphoner just completely run away with the game.
To at least pressure it early on, and I mean, Müller with the Ether Hub will already get a card off of it.
Oh, that's very nice actually here for Müller, yes, that Siphoner already replacing itself at the cost of 1 life. Not too much of a cost to be paid against a slower deck, like the Procession deck that you see on your screen. Glensleeve Siphoner, a real liability to be playing on your main deck, as we've mentioned throughout the weekend so far. But the reward is certainly there. Now, does Arndt snap off the trade here?
It kind of depends on his hand if he has other plans for those tokens, but I think you cannot allow black-green to draw too many extra cards, because then you will run into the problem that there will be combat trigs, there will be winding constrictors, and so on.
And look at this. Müller's board is just generating all sorts of value with another Glensleeve Siphoner, and due to the attack from the first one means that it's going to replace itself as well. Real nice for Müller here.
Yeah, and this is the next extra card he's drawing, so Müller off to a great start. The thing is, maybe Arndt can go so far over the top with his tokens that all the cards in the world won't help Müller here.
Now, the problem with Anointed Procession, I played with this card a fair bit, and the problem is the one that we've just seen right now, and the fact that you have to tap it on turn 4 to do nothing. And what this means for Arndt right now is he's got a bit of a freebie, because he's not under a huge amount of pressure when it comes to life total. He may be pulling further behind on cards, but essentially every value play he makes from here is going to be doubled. And so the fact that he's not being punished for this turn 4 tap out is pretty huge.
Yeah, he's not taking too much damage. He is ahead. Well, he's even in mana development. Okay, this is a few points of extra damage, but the really big hits of Martin are not there yet. No Verdurous Gearhawks or anything like that. Georg Arndt might even tap out again to do nothing, and then we are at 4 times nothing, because the Anointed Processions
still does nothing. But yes, it the effects are cumulative, so it multiplies and then multiplies again. So if we see Arndt generate a token here, instead he'll generate 2 with 2 processions. He'd generate 4, and so on and so forth. But a Champion of Wits, a nice one to bring back from the bin with an Anointed Procession. Right now, not doing too much, though.
No, and painful at that, Hypno Rivulet to cast it. Looks like a bit of an awkward draw for Arndt, who really needs some more tokens here.
Okay, and a seal away here, going to take care of that Glensleeve Siphoner. So that is easy enough for him to do there. But now we have the 3/3 Rishkar, in addition to those Llanowar Elves here for Arndt to deal with.
And 5 mana, so we might see Walking Ballistas, Verdurous Gearhawks.
Yeah, Arndt needs to start getting stuff on the board.
Even more mana if you consider Rishkar as a mana source. I expect him to be attacking, though.
Well, here's a Walking Ballista for 3 now. Immediately going to cut that champion down to size, and in comes the Hill Giant now. Centaur Courser, I should say.
Walking Ballista also great against any potential tokens that might come down.
I tell you what, you got to have a lot of courage to come into standard format playing something like Anointed Procession these days, because here we see Anointed Priest, a fantastic way to buffer that life total with token generation. But generally speaking, tokens have 1 toughness, and 1 toughness is it's a bit of a rough spot to be in standard at the moment. Here's a Verdurous Gearhulk, and oh no, a Fatal Push as well to deal with the Anointed Priest, and this is looking very grim here for Arndt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you needed to count that carefully there.
Enough of an attack there after the Gear Hulk essentially allows the Ballista double dip. First damage with the attack and then damage with the ability. And that's going to be that. Martin Muller very handily taking out game number 1. And as I say, in this matchup it's not necessarily as lopsided, but in a deck that is looking to go wide with a huge number of 1/1s, ugh.
Well, at least against Black-Green Constrictor, he should be able to stem the bleeding on the ground better than what we saw here. The question is, how many answers to enchantments does Martin have in his sideboard?
Well, the green. We've seen in some lists, especially the blue-black list, the red-black lists, there aren't a huge number of disenchant effects. There's actual literal 0 in red-black, of course. But removing an enchantment is a little bit easier when we're playing green, and I imagine we'll see some number of disenchant effects in the deck list of Martin Muller. As we look at Georg Arndt's list, however, as he, his actual sideboard is like super boring, Simon. It's actually just like, it is the sort of stuff that you could send to an insomniac to get him to sleep of a night. Angel of Sanctions, Authority of the Consuls, Forsake the Worldly, It is just the most typical blue-white sideboard I've ever seen.
What you would expect from somebody that enjoys just putting more and more tokens onto the battlefield.
But that's not... There is stuff like Sorcerer's Spyglass. There's Negate, Seal Away, Jace Defeat. This is just normal. There's no sideboard spice here. Let's have a look instead at Martin Muller and tell me about what he's working with.
Talking about spice...
Here we go.
I don't know. I'm not saying all of these have implications in this matchup, but I really like the Cartouche of Ambition.
Yeah.
In Martin Muller's deck. That's really a nice sideboard card to have access to that I haven't really seen very often. Lifecrafter's Bestiary is good. I think we will see Duress just to take the key cards of Georg away. Of course, for example, Anointed Procession. This is not revolutionary, but Martin has answers to everything that the format has to offer.
I think the point I'm trying to make here is Arndt's playing a pretty off-the-wall list, right? Anointed Procession, you've got to go deep on that. That's not the sort of card you can throw into any kind of list there or whatever. And his list supports that with, Anointed Priest, Sacred Cat, Vizier of the Anointed. There's all sorts of stuff going in here to reward a token strategy. But then we have this sideboard that is just like this generic blue-white control sideboard that you could sort of tack on to any white-blue deck there. And, not the sort of sideboard I guess I'm expecting to see.
It's definitely not a transformal sideboard of any kind.
No,
but it does make sense that you cannot really afford to change your main deck configuration too much, because you are relying on those Anointed Processions and all the token makers to really operate at maximum efficiency.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I guess what I'm looking for in this list is, cards like Sunscourge Champion, right? These are the cards that will come in after board, have a huge impact, and then also support that token strategy. Obviously, 3 copies in the board of Georg Arndt, but I don't know. Apart from that, it does look like a pretty generic kind of sideboard. I don't know. I feel kind of bad because I've thrown a lot of shade at this guy's sideboard, and now I'm trying to back up and justify my position that was rather aggressive. But you made a good point. This is a main deck that you can only tinker with. You can only bring in 2, 3, 4 copies of any particular card.
And playing white-blue, you have access to probably the 2 most powerful sideboard colors in the format. So you can just bring in those 3 negates, and they are just great at what they do.
Yeah, negate, as we've talked about, Simon, is one of the best sideboard cards in the format. But right now, we are off to the races. Sacred Cat opening up the account here.
Sacred Cat against Land of Elves.
The Battle of the Ages.
The classic battle.
Yeah, the Battle of the Ages. The 1-mana 1/1s. Getting it done here, and of course we all know who wins this battle.
Yeah, and we all know how good 1 toughness creatures are.
Yep, that's very true. We're learning a lot about the standard format today, Simon, as we see an Anointed Priest come down for Arndt. This is better stuff from him, because of course Anointed Priest is a great way to make up that lost ground after deploying the turn 4 Anointed Procession.
I think the Priest was one of the most surprising constructed cards to come out of Amonkhet, because, well, it just looks like a limited common, not a particularly good one, just always playable. And then I remember Sam Black just going off with Anointed Priest and Anointed Procession. It was just beautiful. I mean, it's not so easy for our colleagues that have to manage the life totals,
No, not so easy, no.
but that's not our problem.
My concern with her is that she looks like she's going to sneeze into her hands, which is not what she should be doing into a, in a sterile work environment. She should, of course, be sneezing into the crook of her arm, the vampire sneeze,
It's true.
or the dab sneeze, as I called it when I was trying to get my grade 6s to do it.
There's quite a lot of dust. In this.
Yeah, this is not a pristine working environment. I think the OH&S, there needs to be some health and safety training at the Amonkhet embalming facilities.
I think Nicol Bolas is on it though.
Oh, he cares a lot about the welfare of his workers. He really does. For an evil overlord villain, he really does remember to treat his employees right. Another Llanowel's joining the party in addition to this adventurous impulse. And now our Pokedex comes out, Lifecrafter's Bestiary, and aren't again with the turn 4 Noted Procession, and you have to have it on turn 4.
And now with 2 priests already, Georg's life total might just skyrocket here. The question is if Martin can find good answers to the enchantment once it has come down, because now Duress, for example, is definitely too slow. Only 1 copy of Thrashing Brontodon in Martin's sideboard. Oh.
And look at that. Better lucky than good. Martin Muller finds the Thrashy B just in time, and away goes the Anointy P. And we're back to Arndt now, who was probably going to untap and unload, but right now, well, yep. Looks like the magazine got stuck in the chamber. I don't know how firearms work, to be honest. I was just throwing out words that were loosely related to guns there.
I think in Martin's case, we can say better lucky and good.
Yes,
because
sure.
he is definitely a very good player.
Yep. He has his cake and eats it as well. Do you know what, you know the saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too?
Yes.
Is there an equivalent in German?
I don't think so.
Do you know what the equivalent is in Italian?
No.
You can't have a full barrel and a drunken wife.
Okay.
It makes the whole thing a little bit clearer, because why would you want to have cake and eat it too? Just eat it. That's what cake is for. In any case, Muller now. A Duress, just as we expected, coming in after board. And we're going to see another Lifecrafter's Bestiary coming down.
Maybe a bit of diminishing returns on that artifact, but you want to have access to 3 or 4 of them for those control mirrors. Here now we see 2 individual scries, and then if Muller draws a cheap creature, he can definitely make good use of the triggered ability.
Talk to us about what's the difference there between 2 individual scries and scry 2?
It's you have a bit less information when you see the first card, because if it's, let's say it's a decent card but it's not overwhelmingly good, if you keep it, your second scry is wasted. That's the main difference.
Simon, has been brought to my attention the German equivalent is you can't dance at 2 weddings at the same time.
That is a saying in German.
Yeah,
it's true.
so that means the same thing there like that. And of course
I don't get
German
to speak much German these days.
Of course, the German one is the least funny.
Oh, it's not funny at all.
There's no
it's
time.
just factual.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. You can't. It's that thing. I mean, I lived in Germany for a long time, as you know, and there's one thing I learned, that Germans take comedy very seriously. I know that Germans really do consider comedy to be no laughing matter. Martin Muller now, very pleasing 2-ofs of nearly all the cards on his on the battlefield. Oh, geez, if only that forest was near Deadlands or the other way around, then we'd have the perfect combination. Sacred Cat gets in, and Muller's going to take it here.
Turn 7, Sacred Cat still attacking.
Oh, yeah, and here's a Fumigate as well, so Arndt's going to clean up, gain a bunch of life, and those Anointed Priests can come back once again from the graveyard, which is super, super nice, in conjunction with, of course, an Anointed Procession.
This is quite a good turn for Arndt here. He doesn't mind his creatures going to the graveyard, but not only does he get rid of Muller's card draw cards in the Glintsleeve Siphoners, he also reduces Muller's mana by 2. There were 2 Llanowelves, so Muller might have a bit of a harder time to draw extra cards.
Couple of scries again for Muller here. Going to find he finds a card he likes off the top, so that's good news for him. And then draws 2 thanks to the Glintsleeve Siphoner. Somehow gained energy on that exchange? I think we need to get that checked, because he put his energy count up from 2 to 3.
Yeah, he cast the Siphoner.
Oh, he cast the Siphoner, excuse me. The way he indicated it made it look like he was...
No, now the cards are flowing from the
bestiaries. That's right. Okay, yeah, it's looking really good now for him.
You'll have to explain to me what happens in the artwork of the bestiary, though. At some point, I really don't get it.
Lifecrafter's Bestiary is one of those post-board cards for green decks that really helps them stand up against control. And from a flavor perspective, it seems, well, I mean, it looks like I think it's just a straight up Pokedex, as in it identifies like animals in the wild.
Ah, so you know what you're looking at.
So you know what you're looking at, and then the Lifecrafter, I assume, goes back and makes robot versions of what they've just scanned into the Pokedex
before getting killed by whatever he or she found.
Yeah, that's true. There's definitely some room for things to go wrong there. He's in Invoke the Divine, though, going to take care of one of them. So just the single bestiary left here.
And Georg cannot fight this fight much longer. By destroying one bestiary, he's not really pulling ahead in the card advantage race. He needs to get an Anointed Procession alive. Otherwise, I don't think he has a future this game.
This deck is utter garbage without an Anointed Procession. It's insane. If he had an Anointed Procession out and embalmed the Sacred Cat and the Anointed Priest, he would have gained 500,000 life, he would have all the tokens in the world, and be firing on all cylinders. But without Anointed Procession, this deck is a toilet.
It can have some volatile draws.
That's a much more diplomatic way of saying it. Ravenous Chupacabra and a Forestier for Muller, who again is drawing just a stack of cards.
He has basically drawn the maximum amount of the bestiary whenever he could. I don't know if he sequenced it that way or if his draws just ended up working out like that, but both bestiaries have been absolutely amazing this game.
On his way to catching them all. Back now to Muller after that seal away takes care of the Glennsleeve Siphoner, sends a card below as well. And I mean, now we're seeing it's an innocuous looking card. On the face of it, it doesn't seem to do much, but it's drawn Martin Muller actual literal cards and also shipped a ton of cards to the bottom of his deck as well, which is really important.
Yeah. And we are actually seeing Lifecrafter's Bestiary, which is an anti-control card used against White-Blue Procession, which is not really a control deck, but you're still happy to have access to these kind of cards. Similar to how in a previous matchup we saw anti-control cards be used against the White-Blue Gifts deck. For example, the package of having Glennsleeve Siphoner from the control deck in the sideboard. By the way, I believe Martin is holding 2 more Winding Constrictors. All 4 of them available. He can go into some counter multiplication as Georg is trying to go into the token multiplication.
Winding Constrictor, again, the centerpiece of the deck that we've seen on the right-hand side of your screen. I think the key difference between Anointed Procession and Winding Constrictor is that the Black-Green Constrictor deck is still quite good without the snake on the battlefield.
Still very good.
Yeah. And that's a really important difference to pick up on here. Whereas the Anointed Procession deck needs that enchantment to function, the Black-Green deck still plays a really good mid-range game without having access to the namesake card.
Absolutely, and that's because your individual cards are just powerful. Land of Elves is powerful, Verdurous Gearhulk is powerful, Glennsleeve Siphoner is powerful. So if you contrast that to the Anointed Procession deck, yes, Seal Away is a powerful card, but Sacred Cat is not.
We see another snake come down there. Why? It's always snakes, Simon. Why has it got to be snakes? That's the third one here, but Martin Muller, he's got everything ready to go, but does he have any way to generate counters of any kind? An Ether Hub. Because at the moment he's gaining 3 extra counters.
Yeah, he can get some extra energy, which is currently irrelevant. He also doesn't need extra cards.
Imagine a Verdurous Gearhulk in this situation. Oh my goodness. So we're going to see, okay, here we go. Walking Ballista, pay 1, draw a card. X equals 2. So just the casual 5/5 here. Immediately takes down the Sacred Cat. It's got 4 counters left. So that's the sort of value play he needed to follow up with after those snakes have been committed.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing here is now that because Georg has so much life gain in his deck, it's actually not so easy to beat him down in let's say 1 or 2 attack steps. Instead, Martin will have to play a somewhat longer game, but of course Walking Ballista is a huge step towards that. If he is allowed to untap with that Walking Ballista and 8 mana, he might just spend it all on the Ballista and not play anything else.
4 mana, put 4 counters on there.
think that's a pretty good rate.
Seems pretty decent, I have to say. Let's see what Arndt's cooking up here. It's an Angel of Sanctions. More or less priced into going after that Ballista, but the Ballista can just take down the Angel in response.
Once again, this Ballista is looking really, really powerful.
So we'll see now. Muller respond, I imagine. And all four of them going at the dome. All right, Martin Muller, look at that. The Furious Dane here.
Wow.
Very
That's
aggressive.
Very aggressive.
Especially as the Angel of Sanctions brick walls all of those Constrictors. What we need here is a Virtuous Gearhulk. And it's all 4 Winding Constrictors. Just like that. And there's the Virtuous Gearhulk. So that means 5 counters on up to 4 creatures here. That's ridiculous. This is how you win games of Magic, ladies and gentlemen. Martin Muller with the biggest swing you've seen since you fell off the swings of the playground and when you were 5 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this.
Not only did he casually draw 2 extra cards that turn as well, he also calculated that this would be exactly lethal when he activated the Walking Ballista. Really beautiful.
Easy game, easy life. Martin Muller takes it home. And that was just absolutely enormous. A clean sweep 2-0 victory in straight sets for the Dane here on home turf. Look at that.
Didn't break a sweat.
Very easy game for him. And, well, look, full credit to Georg Arndt. He fought valiantly, and I think his deck kind of... It tried to do what he wanted to do, but Muller just outclassed him, outpaced him. The Thrashing Brontodon for the procession was right on time. And then, I don't know, some bad draws. I don't want to downplay the Anointed Procession deck too much. I think it's better than it looked in that round.
Yes, I think it had the most promising start in game 1, where Georg could have maybe played turn 4 Anointed Procession, turn 5 Anointed Procession, and then a bunch of token makers. But somehow he was too slow. He decided to go for the Champion of Wits on turn 5. Yeah. It didn't really come together.
Didn't really come together, no, that's right. We've got to go to a break, my friends. On the other side of this, however, we're going to bring you more Magic Time Walk action coming up from GP Copenhagen. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you back here soon.
Spell slinging is a great way to meet players that I wouldn't normally get to meet.
Spell slinging is a great way for viewers and fans to meet Magic personalities and pros. It's kind of the best thing ever, actually.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the tournament floor here at GP Copenhagen. And I will tell you this, we got something real. Oh, my goodness, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Because our time walk match, I'm led to understand, is my very good friend, Toffel Severn. Torolf Severn, for those of you who don't know, of course, a pretty well-respected and, well, I wasn't going to say a larger-than-life figure in the German Magic community, because, you know, I guess that description would, like, sort of come up a little bit short of this fella here. But Torolf Severn, a good friend of mine, and someone who has brought a very spicy list, Simon, to this tournament.
Yes, I had the pleasure of looking at this list earlier, and it's playing some limited All-Stars from Dominaria. I really like the Memorial to Folly.
Oh, yeah?
I really don't know what Torolf has cooked up there.
Well, it's been called Black Red Control. I can tell you now it features 4 copies of The Eldest Reborn. And as you looked through the list earlier, Simon, you said, I like this list. It reminds me a little bit of some of my better draft decks.
It does. I mean, that's where I mostly saw this card in action. I've seen, you know, people play a single Eldest Reborn in the sideboard to beat Teferi.
No.
But 4 in the main deck, that's definitely new.
This sweet summer child is playing the full 4 of. On top of that, it is just, as you can see, removal spells and huge threats. But Toffel, I caught up with him earlier, and he was talking about how usually he likes to beat his opponents with their own cards. He's a Doomfall now for Severn. See what Anders is working with. And again, this looks like the straight-up hard Esper control. Maybe splashing white just for Teferi, perhaps something like a cast out.
Yep, that's probably it.
So in the hand of Torsten Anders here, Fatal Push, disallow, another Fatal Push there. You can see Vraska's Contempt and a Scarab God. And Yeheni's Expertise, perhaps, in addition to a Torrential Gearhulk. It's a special printing of that card. Oh, is that... I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't happen often, but I have no idea what that card is. Essence Extraction. Essence Extraction. Just realised. Definitely didn't read the deck list for that one. Back to Severn now. And we'll see what he's up to. Liliana Death's Majesty. So Torsten Anders remains blissfully unaware of how things are going to go for him once he gets Eldest Reborn.
He has no idea what's coming.
He has no idea what's coming. And we have a 2/2 zombie now for Death's Majesty. So Severn, a host of the popular broadcast Stacking 60s, certainly the second... Oh, dear. Torsten Anders flipping cards all over the place. Whoops. As I was saying, Severn, probably the second most popular host of that podcast. Fantastic podcast, I'm led to believe. Haven't listened to it too much myself, Simon, but they talk all about Brawl, the latest singleton format to grace us, as a judge call resolves how to deal with this accidentally flipped concealed courtyard.
Who's hosting this podcast again, Riley?
Toffel, his mate Yamin, and there's another guy. Who is he?
Some bloke, right?
Some guy, very good-looking fellow. Yep, got a voice like melted honey.
Mm-hmm.
He really does.
Beautiful hair.
A beautiful hair. Falling out though, it is, unfortunately. Not so much of it left. But no, the sort of baritone that you could drown yourself in. And yeah, episodes released every Thursday. Stacking60.net. Find it on iTunes. Subscribe. Got a Patreon as well. So, Judge in the middle of resolving exactly what's going to happen with this, I guess, like a sort of dexterity error here from Torsten Anders. He went to draw a card and accidentally flipped the concealed courtyard off the top of the library. Obviously, no silly buggers going on here. I don't know what the procedure is to resolve a situation like this.
So, the first question that the judge asks is usually if there are any known cards in the library. So, for example, has there been a scry to the bottom? That's really important, because if there has been something like that, then that is the part of the library that is not randomized, and it would not be shuffled here. Now, I think the answer was that after this Evolving Wilds was sacrificed, the whole library was unknown to both players, so it just gets a full shuffle. No big deal here.
I guess you could say it was a revealed courtyard.
It was.
Rather than a concealed courtyard.
It's not bad. Did you get that off Twitch chat?
Maybe. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Liliana Death's Majesty making another 2/2 here for Severn. continue to pull further ahead. Anders really doesn't have what he needs to contest this match. We need something like a Vraska's Contempt for him right now. Sweltering Suns, number 3 being cycled away. I really love Sweltering Suns in this standard format right now.
Yeah, not in this matchup, but definitely nice card in the format. I think 3 damage, this is the sweet spot. You kind of prey on all the players that are not playing any 1 toughness creatures, and then you get their 2 and 3s. Also, and of course, Thoralf understands that you need to deal with all the small creatures to make your Eldest Reborn as powerful as possible.
Here's Gonti, the Lord of Luxury. Severn going to have a look and pick the best of the top 4 of Anders' library here. Things aren't looking good for the Esper Control player. And in comes the 2-2. Zombie gets in for a couple of points now. And Severn pulling himself further and further ahead.
This is looking quite promising for Thoralf, and he hasn't even resolved the Eldest Reborn yet.
No, maybe that's why he's winning.
That's the secret.
That's the secret.
So you mentioned Brawl earlier, and maybe that's how he came up with this deck. I see some multiple copies of some cards, but it does look like maybe he just likes Gonti a lot.
Yeah. He's just playing. There are some pretty spicy one-offs. You're going to see one of them here, Noxious Gearhulk as well. So you think Severn maybe is Brawl drunk?
Well, no. Now that I think about it, you would have to play a black-red legend.
Yes.
I'm not an expert in these kind of formats, Riley.
Okay. Play Garner the Bloodflame.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yep, don't even worry about that. Oh, I didn't become the host of the most successful Brawl podcast not to know the name of the Red-Black Legend in Standard.
Angrath, the Flame Change, another option.
Also an option. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Didn't have to look it up.
Didn't even have to look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Big attack now for Severn. He's continuing to turn the screws in his opponent.
I even invent my own jokes.
Can you name another Black-Red Legend? Arrow Devastation? Marquee card?
It's the Scorpion God.
It's the Scorpion God. Simon Kurtzen, ladies and gentlemen. And a Braid now.
I'm done. Done for today.
There's nothing else you need to consider. A Braid being discarded now to that Tormenting Voice. Severn playing a 2-1 split between a Tormenting Voice and there's the other one, Cathartic Reunion as well.
What is Torsten thinking right now? He has never seen this deck in his life.
No.
There's a Planeswalker, there are 4 creatures, and he knows that if he starts killing creatures, they'll just come back because there are already 2 Memorial to Follies.
Yep.
Just waiting to rebuy that sweet value.
Not to mention the Eldest Reborn hiding out in Severn's hand to throw another spanner in the works. The works right now for Torsten Anders are more spanner than works.
Well, somehow he's also stuck on 4 lands, which doesn't make it easier.
Another spanner. He's got a whole toolkit full of spanners instead of where his work should be. And he's not having a good time. Here's the Eldest Reborn, and Anders is like, okay, wow.
That might prompt a concession right there.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. There's premium draft uncommon here. No, Anders respects the Eldest Reborn. Respect where respect is due. Away it goes. Disallow. And a fatal push on the token here, but Liliana Death's Majesty continues to rule the battlefield here from Severn.
Last weekend at the Pro Tour, we saw some really powerful turns involving Liliana when she returned the Scarab God, and the player activating Liliana immediately had the mana to activate Scarab God as well.
Severn 3 cards in hand. Anders finally, wow, and he puts a land. He's that desperate for a land that he's put his island in the bin. Essence Extraction in hand, in addition to Disallow still up. Back to Severn now, continuing to get it done with his 2 power creatures. Anders down to 9. Vraska's Contempt off the top. I mean, we've had a fair few giggles at Severn's deck, and for good reason, because it's full of very bad cards. Also playing some hard-hitting, powerhouses of Standard. Vraska's Contempt's really good. Fatal Push can still get it done. And almost complete immunity to Goblin Chainwhirler as well, this list.
Oh, I think this is clearly a deck which doesn't win because it's individual power levels, but because how the deck is constructed and how you have, let's say, a little bit of everything for all the matchups. And you can only build this kind of deck when the format has evolved to a certain degree, because you have to know exactly what you're trying to beat.
I did get an exclusive chat with Severn about this list, of course. I mean, don't ask me how I did it, but I did actually manage to get inside this little fella's head for a little bit there, and he talked about how this deck is really well set up to beat red decks. He said if he could just play against red-black aggro all day, red-black mid-range, red-black control, as Owen Turtenwald calls it, he would just be happy to take it. But then also it has this game plan against blue-white control that may not seem great on the surface, but they play it to Ferry. They think there's nothing to get rid of it. And then all of a sudden the Eldest Reborn not only makes them sacrifice it, Simon, but then 2 turns later, Severn gets it on his side.
It is pretty filthy, and I expect Thoralf, especially today, to catch a lot of opponents with that.
Yeah, with their pants down. Absolutely.
So something I want to go back to, it's been a little while, but Torsten actually put the island in his graveyard to flip Ascanta.
Uh-huh.
But I think it would have been better to just keep the island. It would have been the same amount of mana the turn he draws the island, and then next turn he can still flip Ascanta. So somehow I think he mana screwed himself with that decision, even though Ascanta on the surface looks more powerful than an island.
Severn getting some use out of those dead fatal pushes. We saw Anders go for the essence extraction on a zombie, and Severn killed it in response to prevent him from gaining that life, putting Anders down to 1 with that attack. And now there's nothing that he can do, and Thoralf Severn wins a game of Magic with his Eldest Reborn. I mean, I can only assume that the reason he's 4-0 is that his opponent's mulliganed into oblivion in game number 3, or in round number 4, I should say. But right now, Anders on the play and cycling away a hieroglyphic illumination. We'll see if things change post-board.
But I think it should only get better for Thoralf's deck, because he can take out more dead cards than Torsten.
Bring in that last Doomfall, 3 of in the main, 3 Duress in the board, which can be brought in, and Arguel's Bloodfast. This is going to be huge in this matchup.
I really like how...
Oh, no. Torsten Anders has brought in Essence Scatter, and he's actually got some value off it as well. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I was not as shocked as you were. Oh, that is quite tough, though. Getting your Tormenting Voice countered.
Oh, dear. Yeah, that's kind of gross here. Severn is under a little bit of pressure now, but here's Gonti to recoup that the lost card advantage. No appearance from the Lord of Luxury this time around. And did Anders miss a land drop? Rough stuff from him, but here is the Eldest Reborn from Double Severn. He recognizes that the
first part of the story is just flavor text.
Oh, it's just all... The thing is, Severn has expertly baited out the counterspells with Gonti, with the Tormenting Voice, and now the real action can begin as we see Anders discard the Scarab God.
I'm not sure if discarding Scarab God is going to end up...
Oh, no.
All that great.
Oh.
Interesting.
Okay.
Goes for Gonti anyway.
Severn wanting the Gonti back. He can, of course, get back the Scarab God. This is not something that you often register when you read the Eldest Reborn for the first time, but you can snag your opponent's planeswalkers and creatures there. Here's Gonti, Lord of Luxury, in addition to a Duress from the hand now for Severn. So managing to recoup some of that lost value here.
Thoralf just went for the not guaranteed value, but it's actually a kind of a nice threat because it's legendary, and you will get a card from your opponent that way.
Severn taking a quick inventory of what Anders is working with. Let's see what he's going to snag with his Duress. What are you looking at here? We've got double cast down, Glimmer, a couple of Vraska's Contempts, and the Scarab God there.
Ton of redundancy, right? And I think when my opponent is so removal flooded, I just take the card draw.
Every time.
I would just take the Glimmer and not worry about them having 4 removal spells rather than 3.
And this was something that players learnt during Theros Standard in building a resilient Thoughtseize-proof hand.
Some even earlier.
Here's Teferi, the hero of Dominaria.
That's not a bad card to take with Gonti.
Not a bad card to take with Gonti there, as we see it flipped off the Lord of Luxury. And all of a sudden now, Severn is activating a blue-white Planeswalker in his red-black deck. Easy game, easy life. It's not hard to win when you are the luckiest man on Earth.
We have to give Thoralf a little bit of credit. You have to build this kind of deck. You have to decide to bring it to a GP, and you have to pilot it to a 5-0.
I give him 0 credit. He's standing behind us right now watching his own match, and I'm telling him now, I give you 0 credit, Toffel. No, not really. I'm doing like the scuba diving okay sign. This isn't okay, my friend. This is 0 credit.
He is probably the only player playing Mountains and no Goblin Chain.
That was his claim as well. He's playing Mountains and 0 Chain Whirlers. Probably the only player into the room to be doing so here. You got to admire the guts on this fella. But I tell you what, it's done him very well so far. For those of you who may not have missed the fact, who may not have joined us from the beginning of the round, I'd just like to reiterate here, Toffel is one of my best friends on earth. So just hold that in your mind when you're hearing me like getting the dagger stuck into him there.
Is this the black-red control deck that Owen Turtenwald was talking about?
Oh, maybe this was like its final iteration. Yeah, Turtenwald was halfway there, and Toffel's brought it home. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, exiled to that Vraska's Contempt here. But Severn was able to get value off it, and he's just oozing value from every angle right now. Nice full grip as well. In comes the Lord of Luxury, and it's down to 18.
We might see another the Eldest Reborn, but no, Toralf actually delays it here. He knows about the Scarab God in Torsten Anders' hand, so he wants to keep the Eldest Reborn as a way to deal with that. Although with this hand, he could have just cast it. He would have gotten a card of Anders, and he would have gotten a really nice reanimation target again.
Duress now, picking apart the hand of Severn, as you can see. Double copy of Vraska's Contempt there. We've got the Eldest Reborn and a Doomfall to round things out here for the German.
This might look like a powerful hand, but if you contrast what's going on here, we have a 2-power creature on the battlefield and ton of removal and hand disruption in both players' hands. So I think this could be going on for quite some while.
I don't understand Anders taking the Vraska's Contempt there.
Me neither. I was basically sure that he would take the Eldest Reborn.
And so now we're going to see Severn look at the hand of Anders. Doesn't have a counterspell, let alone 2. And so now the Eldest Reborn can come down. And sure, it's not getting Anders to sacrifice a creature or planeswalker on board, but it's going to discard a card and then regrow something like the Scarab God. It's going to be huge. Even the Glensleeve Siphoner can come back and get some value here.
Yeah, I think maybe Toralf doesn't even want to.
Oh, look
doesn't
at
even
this.
want the Scarab God. We've seen him reanimate Gonti when he had the choice.
Look at this greedy chap. He's just sitting behind this. He's not even playing his Eldest Reborn. Here comes a Vraska's Contempt now for the Gonti.
Well, as long as he doesn't play it, he knows that he can never lose to the Scarab God. But I think now he drew a second one, so it's definitely time to play out this saga.
So now Anders draws a Planeswalker, and he's in a difficult spot here because he knows that Severn has the answer to it. So Cast Down hits the bin. And Severn, I think, just going to probably reanimate a 5/5 here, you would imagine. Can't activate its ability, but can still get some good value out of it. And this list, I mean, if nothing else, there is some real spice to this list. If you are keen to get the deck list, jump on Twitter because I will post it later on. I'll have to check with Toffel as to when to make sure he may not want it posted today, in which case it will definitely be posted as soon as I can. I'll have to check with him. Because if he doesn't want it out there, well then that'll be the next post I make. So keep an eye on Twitter and you'll get this list coming your way pretty soon, my friends. So the Eldest Reborn's going to pop off, and Simon, what are we looking at here?
The options are the Scarab God and Glensleeve Siphoner, and this confirms that Toralf just does not want to have a Scarab God on his side of the battlefield.
Yeah.
He prefers to reanimate his own creatures when he has the choice. I'm pretty sure that if that Teferi had been in the graveyard, there's actually one in exile, one on the battlefield, he would have chosen the Planeswalker here.
Here's a Doomfall now, and this is going to be problematic for Anders, who is holding a negate. And I think in this situation, there's nothing to be gained from. I mean, usually I say negate it every time, negate the hand disruption spell. But Severn knows the contents of Anders' hand already, so there's no point in negating it. And the second Eldest Reborn now for Severn.
In a game theoretical sense, you could say that Torsten gave Toralf the option of not taking negate.
Yep.
So, I mean, he still didn't.
But obviously he's going to take the negate because that means the Eldest Reborn does cause Anders to sacrifice Teferi, the Hero of Dominaria, and Toralf here running rings around his opponent, getting him to really, I guess, one of the advantages that Severn has here is the fact that opponents will misread or misplay around unknown or unfamiliar cards.
Yeah, especially the Eldest Reborn, you're just not used to playing against that in Constructed, and also these Memorial to Follies. We have to mention it again. This is not a creature deck, so there are almost no creatures in Torof's deck. But somehow, he just wants to get one threat on the battlefield and then somehow cast it over and over again unless it gets exiled.
Doomfall, and then the Glensleeve Siphoner brought back from the Memorial to Folly, but it's not going to draw him any extra cards this time as it was contempted. And now Toffel has put it into the exile zone. He is one of the biggest rules lawyers I've met outside of Yamin Kalf, so he isn't going to miss something like that. We're going to see Teferi come back for Severn, and this could be the writing on the wall here for Anders.
I really don't understand this line by Torsten. He knew that Teferi was on the horizon, and he used his Vraska's Contempt on a Glensleeve Siphoner. That I don't think that can be correct.
No, it's printed on the card. It says it on the Eldest Reborn. You can bring back a Planeswalker from your opponent's yard. Maybe Anders didn't realize that's something that we see quite often.
Anders might also be just hoping that he can deal with Teferi and he needs to exile the creature, but still, it seems weird to me because Glensleeve Siphoner cannot be as powerful as a Teferi.
Here is the Gonti once again. I think that's Gonti number 3 so far. Severn going to pick the best of the bunch here. Anything that he likes? Looks like that's just 4 lands?
I think it was 4 lands.
Oh, rough stuff there for Severn.
Can you even cast a land? I don't think you can.
I don't think you can. No, I think it just stays there.
So, very unlucky.
So unlucky. That's what he's going to be saying after this match is complete, I can tell you that much. Teferi up to 7 loyalty now. And this is exactly how Severn likes to win. Wanting to beat opponents with their own cards. That's what he said coming into this tournament.
It might be time, though, for Torrential Gearhulk to shine.
Okay, well, let's see if Anders can stitch something together here, because we're going to see Vraska's Contempt flash back, and that gets rid of Teferi once again, but Severn's drawn 2 cards off it. What a game of Magic we're seeing. It's blow for blow here. Severn has continued to apply pressure to Torsten Anders, who's desperately trying to paddle to keep his snoot above water here, but Severn is just really teaching him a stiff lesson. Here's another Glensleeve Siphoner. See if Severn can untap with this one. 4 cards in hand for Little German. Let's have a look at what Anders is up to now. There's still 1 copy of Memorial to Folly on the battlefield for Severn here, so he can rebuy a creature should one hit the bin. And we'll see now. Anders finds a... that's a good draw for Severn here. His opponent has found a Teferi.
So you're hoping your opponent draws all their Planeswalkers so you can reanimate them?
That's it. You need your opponent to draw the good cards. How are you going to win otherwise? So Severn does have the answer to it, of course, in the Vraska's Contempt in hand. And Anders is a little bit flooded on threats here, as we see now. Torrential Gearhulk getting in for 5. Severn playing fast and loose with his own life total, attacking with the Gonti. 6 mana, another copy of Gearhulk. And that's going to exile that Glensleeve Siphoner. Wow, Anders has really got the blinkers on when it comes to extra cards off the Siphoners. And Vraska's Contempt number 2 takes care of the other Gearhulk. On going to keep things back now for Severn. Hold back that Death Touch creature.
I'm just going to take that deck list here.
Okay.
Take care of it.
All right. What you doing with that one there?
Oh, no, nothing.
Just, okay. Holding on to that for future reference.
Personal
use only?
Personal usage.
All right, we'll see. Hero of Dominaria now going to get exiled thanks to the Vraska's Contempt. Turns out heroes do die every now and again.
It is a bit of a nombo to exile your opponent's Planeswalkers and then not reanimate them.
No. See, it's all part of the plan, right? They play a Planeswalker. You cast the Contempt.
Oh, they negate
counter it, and then you slam the Eldest Reborn.
They'll never expect it.
They never expect it. Here's another Glensleeve Siphoner, a Glimmer of Genius in response from Torsten Anders.
So this is the first time I'm seeing this beautiful black-red control deck work its magic. Is it possible that Torolf can even deck his opponent in the control mirror? Because he's definitely drawing less cards because his value generation works on a different angle.
Yeah, his card advantage comes from the bin rather from the top of the library.
And he is somehow taking a few cards off Anders' deck every now and then with Gonti.
So he's even drawing cards off his opponent's library as well.
So this could be interesting if you look at how few threats and how many answers these two players are packing.
The big whiff there from the duress from Torsten and Anders, although seeing Severn with 2 hat lands in hand is never a bad thing. Here's a fatal push on the Glintslave Siphoner. Severn could just not draw any extra cards off this Siphoner.
Yeah, Anders doesn't want to win the library depletion race.
Let's try again, Severn.
So now we might actually see Memorial to Folly, unless Toffel wants to keep that for Gonti.
No, it looks like the Glintslave Siphoner is going to come back again here. As we see well, once again, Anders has no truck with the 2-1s. I think that's the 5th one we've seen removed before Severn got the chance to untap with it. The library is both becoming rather depleted here, but you would think that Anders, between his Glimmers of Genius and the Gontis, is losing that milling race.
I think we've seen 2 Teferis get dealt with as well, which is usually the amount that Esper Control plays. Maybe there's a 3rd one in the sideboard, and this is game 2. So, yeah, I would assume Anders to have 3 Teferis after sideboarding.
Cycles away the Canyon Sliders, Severn here. He's got Mountain, Swamp, and a mystery card there. Oh, 2 mystery cards even. Here's another Torrential Gearhulk now for Anders. Going to flash back a Glimmer of Genius and draw another 2, Simon.
Gearhulk is just a super powerful card.
Finds land, cycles away Fetid Pools.
At some point, there are just going to be lands left in his library. Look at how few he's drawn. 9 lands.
And a negate in the hand of Torsten and Anders. That's going to be a nice one, especially if Severn can rip something like another Eldest Reborn here.
I think Severn is actually happy just sitting there with his Gonti. He's threatening to block Gearhulk, and if damage resolves, then he gets it back with the Memorial to Folly.
Yep. Easy game. Is there another Memorial on the battlefield? Yes, there is. No, I don't think there is. So Duress.
Oh, sorry.
And now, oh dear, what's this? A Walking Ballista, a big one too. Big Ballista Boy for 5. That's 10 mana. But I think we've seen Severn already use 2 copies of Memorial to Folly.
Okay, he's playing 3, so...
Okay, maybe we'll see that 3rd. But can you see there the very special card he's playing? Looks like I thought I saw a Cabal Stronghold there. Must be a Cinder Barons. All right, never mind.
And I was actually hoping for an Arch of Araska, but didn't make it into his list. Maybe a small improvement, still possible.
Torrential Gearhulk gets in now. Back to Severn, who all of a sudden has this walking win condition with the Walking Ballista. Let's see what else he's got as well. Arguel's Bloodfast. He's on 14. Might even be 9 after that attack from the Gearhulk there.
Now he's just going to sit on his Ballista. The Gearhulk will be too small to block it. Ooh.
Oh, and a Syncopate for $1 million here. Can Severn pay?
He might be, because he has a lot more mana than...
Counts it up. And is he able to pay? I mean, you snap off
I think
payment.
he's able, but I don't know. I think you can also just not pay and pump your Ballista 2 times.
Okay, that also works.
Or maybe 3 times. Because that makes the difference between the Gearhulk hitting you another time or not. I think that's a really big difference.
Yeah, that's actually pretty key here, because that Ballista can grow to a 7/7, which is what we're going to see now here. Oh, just gets in. On 8/8 even. Getcha. Stick this in your pipe and smoke it, says Toralf Severin. And Torsten Anders now rips a land off the top, and yeah, the draws have not been treating him very favorably.
He didn't draw a lot of lands in the early and mid game, so these control decks just have to find lands at some point. And also, Toralf really beautifully depleted Anders of resources.
Oh no! And now a Noxious Gearhulk taking out the Torrential Gearhulk. That paves the way now for Toralf Severin to win the game on the spot. Anders has got Stone Cold Nothing, attacking for 8 damage upstairs. And Toralf Severin, on the back of this massive Walking Ballista, has got the handshake. Congratulations, Toffel Severin. It's very, very rare, Simon, to see Toffel win one game of Magic, let alone two. But he is 5-0 with a garbage fire of a deck here at GP Copenhagen. What an impressive performance.
I absolutely agree with all your points. We should just give him a seat in the feature match.
We really
like
should. Just
permanent,
a little
seat.
Little Dwarven Kingdom, little Toffel zone for him there.
As long as he's in contention, at least.
Yeah, I would love to see more of this list. And once again, I am going to check with Toffel about maybe publishing that list. And as I said, if he is wanting to sort of keep it private, you can guarantee that it'll be in my Twitter within the next 15 minutes. So get across that, my friends. But right now, we're going to head to our next Time Walk match, and we are going to kick things off in game number 2 between Peter Sulfuric and Jasper Grimmer. Grimmer, another player from Berlin, and he's kicking things off very aggressively with a Bomat Courier.
This is a bit more of classical standard here. Red-black Chain Whirler with a really nice start out of the gates. Looks like it's one of the more aggressive versions, but still splashing for black. And Sulfuric, as is his style, playing white-blue control.
Kari Zev joining the Bomat Courier now. And Sulfuric, yes, as you mentioned, this deck very much in his wheelhouse. Whoa. And 3 mana sees an Arncrop Crasher played, Simon? I don't understand.
Well, the thing is, when your opponent is playing blue-white control, and a 3-2 haste might actually be better than Chain
Yeah, that's very true. Here's Ragavan the Monkey, in addition to the exiled card. And Sulfuric going to have an opportunity to respond.
Ragavan is doing a Bomat Courier impression there.
I think that was Grimmer. Grimmer's a very particular player, very, very precise, and I think that was him actually physically stacking the triggers.
It might be relevant at some point.
Ragavan wouldn't be very good as a Bomat Courier.
Because he disappears.
Disappears every turn, just exile a card, it's just gone, just incinerates it. Like those monkeys in the in the Thai temples that have learned to go and steal like tourists' hats, and then they get to like hold them for ransom. And here's these triggers once again now.
Oh, and they only give it back if you
Have you seen
bribe
this?
them.
It's quite incredible. If you haven't seen this, ladies and gentlemen, get across it. There are monkeys at temples who have learned to steal things from tourists and then hold them to ransom for like nuts or whatever. It's fantastic. It's fantastic viewing. Sulfuric under a bit of pressure now as we see a massive Bomat Courier and a Soulscar Mage joining the party as well. Sulfuric obviously getting up in game number 1. And things don't improve for control decks post-board with Duress coming into play.
This is the critical turn, and you might see play patterns shift quite significantly here, because now Sulfuric is representing Settle the Wreckage on only 10 life, so Jasper has to decide how many creatures he wants to expose to Settle the Wreckage. He decides that Bomat Courier is too valuable, and Sulfuric actually decides that 4 points of damage is just fine.
Scrapeheap Scrounge to the follow-up play here for Grimmer. And Sulfuric with a Fumigate to clean things up. But Grimmer's going to cash in his hand here, looks like, for that Bomat Courier. It doesn't look too bad. I saw a Glory Bringer and a Chandra in there, but I think he just wants some more lands, wants to be able to play spells.
He actually had a few uncastable cards there, and he's getting, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 cards out of the deal, so it is ultimately a bit of card advantage, but not the blowout Bomat Courier that we've seen. Actually here you see the really nice synergy between Settle the Wreckage and Fumigate. Jasper playing on Settle the Wreckage, but then exposing himself to Fumigate at the same time.
Here's Goblin Chain Whirler, one of its least impressive matchups, I would say, against white-blue control, where it is essentially just a hard-to-cast 3-mana 3/3.
And still good enough for sideboarded games, of course.
Yeah.
Teferi on 1 is a really spicy pickup.
That's very true, and we touched upon this earlier, Simon, the fact that now the way you play Planeswalkers in Standard has kind of necessarily changed. You can't afford to tick down your Chandra straight away. You can't afford to tick down your Teferi in the face of an oncoming Chain Whirler.
And also now Chandra doesn't deal damage to Planeswalkers anymore, so it's becoming even more important that you can pick them off.
Settle the Wreckage now. Grimmer will have a chance to respond, but the exiling of the Earthshaker Kenra a little bit problematic given that it can't come back again from the bin after being settled. So let's see what Grimmer can find here.
Very impressive how much Peter has done with 3 spells. Like, okay, 3
Whoa.
powerful spells, but
Yeah.
but still, he made it look really easy this game to take control.
I mean, Jasper had a lot of stuff going on, and Sulfuric has just, as you say, used 3 spells to keep the board almost completely clear here. Teferi, the hero of Dominaria, coming down. Grimmer brings back a Scrape Heap Scroungerino. I think he drew another one for the turn here, Simon.
Maybe a bit too late. You want them earlier, of course. And this is actually a really, really interesting spot. 5 loyalty on Teferi against 8 life for Peter. Who do you go for and why? And what is your, let's say, late game proposition here? I would like to see an attack on Peter. And I think that's what Jasper does.
Yep, Grimmer's going straight upstairs.
It's a close call. It's a really close call, but you have to accept at this point that Teferi is here to stay. It is going to be very powerful, but you're not winning the game if you stop dealing damage here.
Nice stuff from Sulfuric here as we see a Settle the Wreckage enabled thanks to Teferi untapping lands and another Scrape Heap Scrounger deployed for Grimmer, but the first one being exiled is pretty big. One fewer recursive threat here for Sulfuric to fight his way through.
Jasper has to hope that Peter floods out here. I don't think it's happening, not with all these cycling lands, the untapping of Teferi, and Memorial to Genius just also has really nice synergy with Teferi.
Scrape Heap Scrounger back into the dome. We'll see what Sulfuric's response is here. Is this another settle? That's it. I mean, and this is Sulfuric really prioritizing the removal of those recursive 3/2s. It's one of the only sort of, well, actually, that's not true. I was going to say it's one of the only clean answers in the deck, but there's things still things like Seal Away. But you can see how important this card is with that interaction. Grimmer chose to point a lightning strike at his own creature to prevent it from being exiled. It's very up to 7 now. We'll see what's next on the menu from Chef Sulfuric here. Still cast out in hand. Bring back a Scrape Heap Scrounger, but Sulfuric does have the answer to it. And Grimmer with 1 card in hand. Nothing much for him to say as the Scrounger gets exiled, draws. I think that was another Soulscar Mage there. And Sulfuric has stabilized marvelously on 8 life.
He made it look really easy. It's
Oh, wow. That was not a Soulscar Mage. That was a fight with fire.
Yeah, he wanted to put 10 -1/-1 counters on Peter there. Ultimately, that was disallowed, but it's really nice technology, I think, to have those fight with fires because Settle the Wreckage just ramps you so nicely.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. Typically, the card is used to kill Lyra Dawnbringer post-board because it's the only real answer that red decks can reliably cast against her. But that, I mean, we see, the secret mode on Fight with Fire is going straight at the dome, but Sulfuric, luckily for him, with the disallow.
And if you've played Dominaria Limited at all, it's actually not so much of a secret mode. It feels like it's the mode that's always what happens when you.
Yeah, it's definitely how my
10.
opponents cast it, always. Yeah. Soulscar Mage gets in. Bomat Courier, no such luck, however, as it's returned to Grimmer's hand. He doesn't recast it, no need to, with it having haste. And now Teferi goes upstairs. And Sulfuric does have an active search for Azcanta as well, so he can start to draw 2 cards, 3 cards a turn now. Yuck. 5 mana, and we're going to see, look at this, Lyra Dawnbringer now for Sulfuric. And enough for Grimmer to extend the hand. He knows he's not beating a 5 mana lifelinking flyer, and so has to concede and goes to 4-1. But congratulations to Peter Sulfuric. After that, a very robust performance from him. A matchup that again gets difficult post board, but Sulfuric showed us that there's certainly still a lot of
can get difficult, should get difficult, didn't get difficult this game.
No, certainly not. That is just about that for this round, my friends. Round number 5 in the books here at GP Copenhagen. We do have to go to a break, but after these ads, of course, we'll be back with more Standard here for round number 6 of GP Copenhagen. You're not going to want to miss it. Tim and Yol will be in the booth with you before long, so we'll see you back in Copenhagen after this.